Jesus Christ, I look like I'm filming this in fucking heaven. Ladies and gentlemen, a Mr. Nightmare video is what you wanted, and now a Mr. Nightmare video is what you shall receive. I know it's been a minute, it's been about a month, and every time I film a video I say the same thing. You know what? I'm going to try and upload on a regular basis again. I'm going to try and get back into a rhythm. You know what? I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm going to stop promising you that because I have a very busy work schedule and I don't know if I can do that anymore. So I'm just going to say, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, because you do never know when you're going to get a video. And whenever I drop a video, let me tell you, it's going to be a banger, ladies and gentlemen. But for the time being, I don't know how often I'm going to be uploading, so I'm going to try to upload as much as possible, but I'm not going to promise no schedule or anything like that. So turn on post notifications, subscribe to the channel, everything like that. Subscribe to the gaming channel while you're at it. Link for that will be in the description down below. You can also follow me on Instagram. Link to that will be in the description down below. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be uploading as often as I can, as much as I can, and whenever a video comes out, make sure you peep that, you know, because it's usually going to be filled with comedy, filled with hilarious catchphrases and sayings, especially when it comes to horror story reactions. It's gonna be filled with cats usually, because my cats that I have in my apartment like to rampage around this place. But either way, Mr. Nightmare, text conversations with disturbing backstories. I swear to God, he's done a video like this before, so I feel like there should be like a part 3 to this or a part 2 to this at least. But either way, let's jump on into the video.
On March 4th, 2022, these were the texts 21-year-old college student Gavin received after getting home from a night out with friends.
This is like 2 months ago.
Hey, is this Gavin? Yes, who's this? It's Alex. Where are you at? Send your location. I'm at home. What happened to you? What number is this? I'm using my friend's phone. We're stranded at the bar. Can you call us an Uber to your house? What? Why don't you just do it?
That says what the fuck, motherfucker. Don't say what.
I don't even know what that means.
You know what the fuck he's saying.
Just send your address. Gavin was out with his friends Alex and Omar, and they were last with each other at a bar in Dallas called Parliament. The trio was getting ready to wrap up the night, but Alex stayed behind when he saw other friends at the bar. So Gavin and Omar went home, and about an hour passed with no contact between the three. That was when Gavin received the text from the random number, and as you see, they claimed to be Alex using his friend's phone. Alex had lost his phone, and he was using his friend's phone, who Gavin apparently had never met before. He was asking Gavin to call him an Uber, since according to him,
it doesn't seem that strange yet, but
Gavin refuses, basically noting how silly that sounds, and tells him to call his own. The conversation picks up here, where Alex agrees to apparently call his own Uber and asks for Gavin's address. Gavin stated that this was around the time he was becoming slightly suspicious, but he still gave his address. However,
yeah, see, I'll be getting suspicious now too, because it says just send your address in the fucking text message. Like, aren't we roommates? Didn't he say they were roommates? He said they were roommates, right? There's 3 of them that were roommates. 2 of them went home, and the other one stayed behind because he seen some other friends at the bar. You should know your own address. Just because you lost your phone doesn't mean you lose contact of your address.
Comments about how he should memorize his address by now.
Yeah.
He says he cut him some slack due to the fact that he was drinking. Gavin asked him why he was using his friend's cell phone, to which he got a response that Alex lost his phone. He then lets them know that they're on their way, and when Gavin asks Alex if he knew his friend, he responds, nah, he's cool though. 10 minutes later, the number sends a text that truly starts to make the conversation suspicious. Can we just come in through the front door when we get there? As if asking Gavin to leave the door unlocked. It was at this moment that he started to question everything about the interaction, from the first text being, hey, is this Gavin, to the asking Gavin to call them an Uber, to now the leaving the door unlocked. He tried to call the number, but it rang and went to voicemail. He then tried to text and call Alex's number repeatedly, but it would just keep going to voicemail, and the text would just say delivered. Gavin stopped answering this foreign number now, and called his friend Omar to ask him if he'd heard anything from Alex, to which Omar said he had not. After reading Omar all of the texts, Omar agreed something was off. They looked to call the bar Parliament.
He asked him to leave the door unlocked, so he should have a key.
Around this time,
if
number
he lost his
Gavin
phone, he would have lost his keys too, I guess, is what he's trying to go for.
Gavin went to his door and looked through the peephole of the door. There was no one in immediate view though, which maybe at first would have implied it was all a prank. But when there was a knock at the door, Gavin checked the peephole again. There was still no one on the other side. Reality of the situation was setting in now for Gavin, as this was no longer just texts on a screen. Someone was actually on the other side of his door. So he asks, "Who is this?" Straight to the point. They reply with simply, "LOL." Gavin asks again, "Who is this?" And they reply, "Open the door." So instead of answering again, Gavin calls the police. The knocking persists for a few minutes, in long intervals. Then it stops for good when the person or people on the other end realize Gavin was onto them. Gavin went on to DM one of Alex's friends who he was hanging out with after he and Omar left. And almost instantly, the friend DM'd him back explaining that he, Alex, and their other friend were jumped by a big group of men in the street. They were all badly injured and went to the hospital. Alex's phone had been stolen, while one of his friend's wallets and phone was stolen. Alex not having a password.
You left that up, Mr.
All
Nightmare.
his info and conversations were accessible.
Cancel Mr.
Alex's
Nightmare.
friend
He
helped
put
him in
black
getting his
dudes in
phone
this
locked.
video.
The police report
That's
that Gavin would get from the
profiling.
police who came to his
Profiling
house
is
would later
wrong.
help Alex in getting his service provider to replace his stolen phone for him. The lack of a password on the phone meant the thieves were able to gain information such as Alex and Gavin's conversation, where they would deduce that Gavin was home alone and an easy target.
See,
So if
that's
Gavin
why
didn't
you
catch on to the
always have
suspicious
password
situation,
on
he may
your
have been
phone.
opening his door to 2 or more people ready to attack him too and rob his house. The phone number that was being used to text Gavin turned out to be another stolen phone, therefore didn't help in finding the thief. The case regarding finding the thieves and assaulters remains open. These texts were received by an anonymous viewer from his dad's ex-girlfriend, who will be named Kathy for the purpose of this recounting. The viewer will be called Rob.
Kathy Bates.
The reason Rob's dad ended things with Kathy was because of her increasingly erratic and delusional tendencies. Her mental health was declining for unknown reasons. Rob's dad was dating Kathy for about half a year, and Rob's grandparents both passed away during that time. Rob's dad wasn't very open at first about how Kathy would start acting all paranoid about his son's dead grandparents, about how she believed they placed a curse on her. Rob's dad cut ties with Kathy when the delusions got too ridiculous. Rob was left in the dark for the longest time about Kathy's delusions, though, presumably out of embarrassment for having spent so much time with a supposed nutjob.
You didn't even
It
meet
wasn't
them,
long
Kathy.
after his father's breakup with Kathy that Rob would receive texts from her himself. When her attempts at reaching his father no longer worked, she clearly went to him instead. Kathy texted Rob, "Hello, sweetie, I need your help." Rob replied with, "What? What's up?" "Your father's parents put a curse on me. I need you to tell me the cemetery and plot number they were buried at." "What do you mean they put a curse on you?" "I keep hearing their voices and having bad premonitions. I know it sounds crazy, but I need it to stop." Of course, being told by someone that they were hearing your dead grandparents' voices would be a clear indication that the person is completely unhinged. So Rob went to show his dad the texts. His dad laughed and told him to just ignore her. Rob says that instead of blocking her, though, he just let her continue to text him to see how crazy her texts would get. She followed up later that night with, "I need to exhume their grave. If you help me out, I will sleep with you. I know you've always checked me out whenever I was in your dad's house." Rob still didn't answer, and the next day, her text got a little more graphic. Rob showed these texts to his dad, and this time his dad was not amused. He called Kathy and screamed that he would be getting a restraining order if she didn't stop. When he hung up, she kept trying to call until he ended up blocking her number. That same night, while Rob's dad was asleep, Rob was still in his den watching a show when he heard the doorknob jiggling. He went to look through the glass atop the door and saw Kathy fiddling with a knife in the key slot of the doorknob. She looked up at him and through the glass and started pleading with him to let her in. Rob called for his dad, and she started to scream no. When his dad came to the door, he screamed at her, and then went to call the cops. Kathy would scream back constant obscenities and threats, waving her knife in the air.
You know, if you're the bitch that would put curses on
Police
people, I
arrived
don't
at her
know why
still
the
at the
fuck you're
door with
freaking the
knife
fuck
in
out,
hand.
man.
Based on her coming to their house with a weapon and not leaving when asked, she was arrested, and Rob's dad filed for a restraining order against her. Clearly, Kathy was more than just delusional and was starting to suffer from some sort of mental illness, such as paranoid disorder. This does not mean she wasn't a danger to others, though, as well as herself, evident by the knife she brought to their house and attempting to break into their house. Luckily, no one was hurt.
She ain't taking her meds, bro.
An 18-year-old girl named Leanna, living in Hoboken, New Jersey, was at a
she's
local bar
fucking
with her
hobo.
friend on a Saturday.
How's she on a
That's
phone
when
then?
she got a notification that someone was trying to send her a message on Instagram. Usually people disregard these message
this is text
requests
messages,
as they're
not
messages
DMs.
from
What the
people
hell
you
is
don't
this?
follow back on Instagram.
I don't like this video no more.
The girls' shoes. Those message requests are 9 times out of 10 men sending them flirtatious and often creepy messages. A lot of people don't ever check these messages, but sometimes when you get that notification that someone sent you a message request, curiosity gets the better.
School bus pulling up.
In this case, Leanna opened the DM, and it was from some random account with no profile picture and no followers, asking her if she was at McSwiggin's, a local bar in Hoboken. Right away, this is cause for alarm, of course, because this would be coming from someone who knew where she was at that exact moment, someone intentionally using a fake Instagram account. Leanna follows with, "Yes, who's this? You look good in that pink top. Aren't you 18 though? Shouldn't be in a bar."
Apologize for that. We had technical interruptions, but let's jump back into it.
18 though? Shouldn't be in a bar. I won't tell anyone though. Who is this? Just a guy who thinks you're really attractive. By this point, Leanna assumes it's a prank by someone she knows and asks who's messing with her. The person replies it's neither of the names she just mentioned. Upon Leanna asking for a selfie, the person replies, "Can't." The girls look around the bar for anybody that could be alone, mainly an older, predatory-looking man. They saw a few men that appeared to be alone sitting at the bar. None of them were eyeing the girls, though. That's when she says, "Okay, bye, we're leaving." Moderately uncomfortable, the two girls leave the crowded bar and start walking. They go to another bar nearby, which is far less crowded than the first. They sit at the bar and order a few drinks, looking for young guys to talk to. When Leanna's phone vibrates
Especially if she
again,
is actually
she gets
18.
another
That
creepy
guy's a
message
good
from the
fucking
person.
guesser.
It said, "This is my favorite bar, good choice." Leanna shows her friend the message, and then the two start looking around the bar for someone who could be sending the messages. And as if he was looking to be found out, Leanna saw a man sitting on the bar stool closest to the door, looking at her with a blank, wide-eyed expression. She says the best way she could describe his appearance was the killer from the movie The Lovely Bones, mainly because of his glasses, hair, and mustache. They made extended eye contact, to the point that it seemed the man was outwardly trying to be creepy, making it obvious who he was. The girls asked the bartender for help.
Across the end of the
He
bar.
showed him the DM she was getting and then pointed at the man, who, in response to being pointed at, started looking around the room, in any direction but towards the girls. The bartender went over and told the guy in a loud, commanding voice to leave the bar without question, threatening to kick his ass if he didn't leave the girls alone. The man left the establishment, surely feeling at least some sense of embarrassment, as anyone would. Leanna and her friends stayed at the bar for about half an hour, only to avoid running into the man outside. But Leanna says their mood to stay out was gone after that creepy encounter, and they just wanted to know who that was, or how he knew Leanna and where she was at that moment. When the girls left, they began walking home. They were on 2nd Street, a quiet one-way road,
Find anything out
especially
about
at
you
the
on
hour they
social
were
media,
walking.
bro. What's
They
your
were being mindful of
location
their
on?
surroundings, making sure they weren't being followed. But even when you think you're aware of your surroundings, the unexpected can always happen. Leanna and her friend heard running footsteps from behind them out of the blue, and there was no time to react before the man grabs Leanna with one arm around her face and mouth and the other around her waist. He picked her up as she tried to scream and fight, and of course her friend did the screaming for her, and continued to hit at the man. The commotion caught the attention of people from around the corner, and a few people came to the scene. The man released his grip from the girl and walked away quickly.
You walked
Nobody
away,
went
he
after
didn't
the
even
man.
book it.
The girls called the police there on the spot. Leanna showed the police the DMs, and 2 witnesses backed up their story as well. A police report was made and a case was opened to find the man in question. Leanna would speak to detectives at her home a few days later, who gathered all the information she could give. They would later
What's
use the
creepy is
surveillance
that
footage from the 2 bars, but the police have not yet been able to match the man
What's
seen in the
creepy
footage
is that
to
these are
anybody.
true stories,
As a precaution,
and they have like
he still
proof to
has
back
her
it up. Those are
Instagram
the
disabled to
scariest
this
ones
day.
that he puts
If
out.
someone is dedicated enough, they can find someone through their Instagram by keeping track of what places they go to in their pictures, what school they go to, and who they associate
Social media
with.
is a sketchy place.
That's why
like
it
that,
often
bro.
is a good idea to keep your Instagram private.
It is scary with these types of stories that he puts out when it's like true stories. Oh shit. When he's like true stories or messages with backstories, or it's like with the footage attached to the end of the stories. Those are the scariest ones, the ones with the footage attached to it, because then you know like what the story is. Because then when you hear the stories, you could either be like, well, this is true or it's not, even though he has true in the title, and you got to take the word of the person who released the story on the internet that he's just narrating. You got to take their word for it. You know what I'm saying? But And then, but then in the other situations where it's like the text messages with stories attached to it, and they have the text messages or the stories with the videos attached to it, they're like, well, there's some sort of proof there. That's the part that makes it the scariest with these types of stories. That's what I like about them. Ugh. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on post notifications while you're at it. Follow me on Instagram at Braden Sanford. The link to that will be in the description down below. Braden Games, gaming channel. Mainly Warzone, Rebirth, you know, maybe a little bit of Vanguard here and there. Links to that, description down below. Subscribe, motherfucker. We're on the road to 5K subscribers, let's just say that. Road to 5K. If we hit 5,000 subscribers, I will quit my job. I'm just kidding. If we ever hit 10,000 subscribers, maybe I'll quit my job. I don't know. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe. Peace.